So let's talk about something really important today. Can you use the tools of modern marketing to actually safeguard our most ancient traditions? Or is that just a recipe for, well, selling them out? Let's dive in.
I mean, think about it. Those unique craft skills, those incredible local festivals that are the lifeblood of a community, what if they just vanished? So much of the world's most valuable culture, what experts call intangible cultural heritage, is at risk of disappearing. It's often because of a lack of resources, a lack of visibility, the pressures of our modern world.
And right there, that's the heart of the problem, isn't it? It sets up this huge paradox that we're going to explore. There's such a fine line between promoting something and preserving it, and finding that balance is absolutely key if these living cultures are going to survive.
Okay, so here's our roadmap. First, we're going to really understand the challenge we're facing. Then, we'll unpack a pretty surprising toolkit that can help. After that, we'll look at some real-world examples from Greece. And then, we're going to tackle some of the tough ethical questions.
So to kick things off, let's get on the same page about the core idea we're talking about today: intangible cultural heritage.
Right, so according to UNESCO, ICH isn't about dusty artifacts in a museum case. No, it's about the living, breathing culture that gives a community its identity. It's all that knowledge and all those skills passed down from one generation to the next. It's the stuff you can't just put on a shelf. You have to experience it.
And look, this isn't some abstract threat. It's so real that back in 2003, UNESCO established a global convention specifically to deal with it. This wasn't just a friendly suggestion, it was a real call to action. It was a global recognition that we need to actively safeguard these traditions from the pressures of the modern world.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? How can we help safeguard these traditions? Well, believe it or not, a toolkit from the world of commerce, the Marketing Mix, gives us a really powerful and structured way to think about it.
Now, you've probably heard of the 4 Ps of marketing before, but for cultural heritage, we're going to tweak that model. We're adding a 5th P, and honestly, it might be the most crucial one of all: people. Let's do a quick run-through of what each of these means here. First up, we have product. And just to be clear, we're not talking about a commodity here. We're talking about the cultural element itself. So, think of a very specific craft, a local festival, a food tradition. The whole point is to understand exactly what makes this cultural product so unique and so valuable.
Next is place. This isn't just about where you sell something. In this context, it's about what grounds the heritage in its authentic local environment. The specific geography, the history, the community, that's what gives it a unique selling proposition that you just can't copy anywhere else.
Promotion. This is pretty straightforward. It covers the actual strategies you use to communicate. How do you tell the world about this amazing heritage? It could be anything, from old-school posters to really sophisticated digital campaigns. The key is reaching the right people without misrepresenting the culture.
Now, price can sound a little weird, right? But we're not talking about putting a price tag on a tradition. Here, it refers to the real, tangible costs of safeguarding and promoting it. Things like printing brochures, funding a community festival, or building a website. And finally, we get to the most important P: people. This is so critical because it reminds us that cultural heritage isn't just some abstract thing. It's alive, and it's carried by actual communities. So any effort to promote or protect it has to involve, has to empower, and ultimately has to benefit the very people who are its living guardians.
Okay, so to really see how this framework operates in the real world, let's check out 2 case studies from Greece. They're both using this kind of strategic thinking to preserve their unique heritage.
So we're looking at 2 very different regions with their own unique struggles. One has this incredibly rich heritage but is dealing with high unemployment, so they need to connect their culture to new business opportunities. The other is literally fighting population decline and needs to build a unique identity to bring in sustainable tourism.
And this is where it gets really interesting, right? You can see how these specific local cultural gems slot right into that marketing framework we just talked about. I mean, look at how the product of Sofli silk production is a tangible asset that can be used to support the local economy. It's fascinating.
And this is a perfect illustration of how that products concept works. The gorgeous silk from the town of Sofli. That's the physical thing you can see and touch, but it's the result of an intangible skill. The deep knowledge of raising silkworms and processing silk that's been passed down for generations. It becomes a core asset for the whole region.
This shows how a specific location can become like a container for living heritage. The Great Cafe 1929 in Amphissa, it's not just a cool old building.
It's a living social hub. It has a theater stage that's hosted performances for decades. That authenticity makes it a powerful place that really grounds the community's story.
Of course, if you're promoting heritage today, you're going to be using modern tools. And that brings with it some incredible opportunities, but also some really complex ethical questions that we absolutely have to talk about. Okay, so you've got these amazing new tools like artificial intelligence and virtual reality. The potential is huge, right? They can make heritage accessible to people all over the world, get young people engaged in new ways, but they also carry major risks if they're not handled ethically. We're talking about spreading misinformation, reinforcing stereotypes, or misusing cultural data.
And that leads us to this really crucial idea highlighted in a UNESCO report: data sovereignty. The idea is simple but powerful. The communities themselves must own and control their own cultural stories to stop their knowledge from being exploited in the digital age.
All right, so after looking at the framework, the case studies, and the ethical tightrope we have to walk, what are the big takeaways? What should we remember from all this?
So what's the bottom line here? It's that marketing itself isn't the enemy of culture, not at all. When you adapt it thoughtfully, when you focus on empowering the community and on ethics, it can be a really powerful ally for preservation. The goal just shifts from simple promotion to sustainable safeguarding that's driven by the community itself.
And that really leaves us with a huge question to chew on, for all of us. In this super interconnected, globalized world, where do we draw the line? As travelers, as consumers, as global citizens, where's the line between respectful promotion and harmful exploitation? That's something we all need to think about.